Right, so previously I had stated that the symbol that is supposed to be the Antichrist symbol I have nothing to do with because I had, presuppositions as to what that symbolized. And, symbolize, like people say it symbolizes like the fucking evil, Satan, blah, 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 carnal, fucking gratification and all that. I will, concisely as I can, explain like my opinion at this present moment. That is my symbol. And I realised that as soon as I looked at it in a certain way. Now, if you look at the symmetry, the cross represents basically tragedy because that's what Jesus, he fucking died. He was tortured and he died on a cross because he didn't defend and decided to turn the other cheek and all that. I wouldn't say that that's cowardly at all, but it was a misinterpretation of what mercy is, and thus it's created this fucking shit show. And if you don't believe me, then you don't understand spiritual responsibility. And what it is, as far as I can make out, is it's not even about being chosen. It's like a gene that propagates. And the universe acknowledges this because the universe is alive. God, whatever the fuck it is you want to call it. And gives this person a path to walk based on their ability. You're probably thinking this is grandiose. I have that same path. And it's not because I believe I don't really understand why it's me. And you're thinking, it's not you, you're off your head. No, it is me. I know it's me. So you can't tell me it's not me because I fucking know. So the the upside down cross, right? What is it? It's a fucking sword, mate. Like, seriously, what is the opposite of turn the other cheek? Fight. Now, I've always been a person who's like, oh, I don't want to hurt anybody, bab, 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 because I understand pain, I understand suffering, and I don't want to impose that. But the more and more I get exposed to certain sides of consciousness now that I've shifted my mentality, the more I realise that people have to be fucking hurt. Like, if you're a warrior in a story, you're going to have to get your sword out and cut somebody's fucking head off at some point. Like, what? I mean, what is this? Amateur hour? Like, I don't think, like, a lot of these you people, right? And I don't mean necessarily you. If this is you and you think that turning the other cheek and mercy and fucking shallow sacrifice and harping on about Jesus' great fucking effort when, like, we all make sacrifices every day. My point is like, you don't know what this universe is like. And if we're to evolve as a species, whether it's propagation, as in, star travel, or like interdimensional travel, or whatever the fuck it is that's supposed to happen, like, do you think that a lot of these beings that we're going to encounter, if that becomes a reality, are going to be playing like Mr. Nice Guy? Like, I understand what these beings are. A lot of them are fucking parasitic. What happens on this earth? Like, we we eat, we we kill things and eat them. Now, if there's an intelligent species that has not exactly fucking transcended, like, in terms of virtue, and is basically just like goes around fucking doing whatever it is that they're doing, you're probably going to find that, like, their treatment of us would be like greatly disturbing. Put it that way. I'm sort of like stumbling over my words a bit here. But the point is, you're thinking like, oh, the Antichrist, like, oh, it's fucking Satan. No, I understand this to a certain degree. What's happened here? That character that is like, I need to put this drink down. The character that was depicted in heaven, right? Whatever the fuck that is, it's just some sort of dimension, right? Like, before I tell you what, fuck this off. Better not have brought that was depicted sort of like this. Hang on. Get the right angle here. That kind of thing. Right. That might, you might see a bit of a resemblance there. Now, it's like, so thinking like, what? So this lad here thinks that he's like Lucifer. Yeah, but the thing is, right, is whether I was called fucking Lucifer in Dimension X squared or whatever the fuck it is that is the crack here, like, it's not even, like, as far as I can tell, it's not even gone into in depth about what that individual's like, because it was a conflict of, like, how things should be ran in heaven or whatever. And God said, like, you're getting too big for your boots here, and you've fucked it basically. So then, Lucifer thought, like, this is fucking ridiculous. Like, he gets overwhelmed by hatred and anger and resentment, and people claim that he basically starts manifesting like all this crap. But the nature of manifestation is that, the protagonist of a story manifests the things that he or she needs to defeat. Now, if you understand, like, what the fuck that means, then like, it's not so much that you're responsible for it, it's the fact of, like, you need opposition in order to actually have something to do. So, who am I? I'm that guy, believe it or not. And just because somebody fucking creates a narrative and poses somebody as the devil, then, like, what? I've already said this, but how many fucking lies do they come up with? Do you think that this bullshit human race is, like, telling the truth? Like, because as far as I can tell, it's full of shit. So what is it that is my fucking principles at the minute? I don't like that. They say the devil's the fucking beast, right? Or, well, I'm just some lad, but the point is I'm very much like an animal, like, and we all are. I don't like this attitude that we're, like, fucking better than the animals. Like, what's this, like, superiority complex we've got? Dolphins are intelligent, but they don't have fucking fingers and thumbs. So why, like, I don't look at a seagull and think, like, wow, like, you are better than you. No, like, why? Why are you even thinking about it like that? If you do think about, there's priests that say animals don't go to heaven. What's the fucking point? The point is, what my argument is that life is about nature. It's not about ideology or anything like that. What probably went on is, if I was in some other dimension, like fucking called heaven or whatever the fucking hell that means, like, what's gone on there is it's got boring. Like, what has actually been going on there? So I imagine that, I would have said, fucking, we need to crank this up a bit. And they're saying, like, you're causing trouble and you're going to have to go to the brig. It's like, yeah, but you've gone mad with power here, God, or whatever your fucking name is. Like, and he's saying, no, you're going mad with power because I'm in charge, or whatever the fucking hell it is that's gone on. The point is I know that I'm not a bad person. However, in my meditations, in my mental exploration, I've come to some pretty terrifying fucking eventualities of consciousness, right? Which I will get into in the future. But what it revolves around, what must go on, it eventually has to, like, turn off. If you fucking milk, like, the best show ever, eventually it's going to become shit. Even if it does evolve, like, at some point there's an actual point where something has to end. Otherwise it'll just fucking drag on and it won't be a proper ending. So this idea of like a villain or a devil, like there's different perceptions in reality. Now there is an objective sense of what is actually fucking like karmically reasonable in reality, but it's not simple. Like, you know, why do you think there's so many people with different points of view? Because perception is infinite. So what makes you think that some deity posing in itself as God actually has the right perception, and that if some other fucking like entity comes over and poses something that, although it may be a bit frightening, it's actually like lends itself to the idea of evolution, and it would accelerate that, even though it may, you know, I probably was, you know, a big troublemaker or whatever. Like, you know, we need to ramp this up. Like, fucking, we were just sitting around doing fuck all. But the point is like, if you're not growing, there's no point. And like, you know, if there's all these powerful beings in heaven and they're not fucking growing properly, it's all becomes stagnant state of perfection, with all knackered, like, you know, people singing hymns and fucking not getting wet in water or whatever the fuck it is. Like, that doesn't sound good to me at all. I've been to what I would describe as heaven, but really it's just the law of attraction and a load of different fucking weird dimensions that are part of like an interconnected story. So what heaven was like for me was basically like war, but the heaven that was within it was the brotherhood and like sisterhood, if you want to call it that, between the companions that I had along the way. And really, like, when I come back here, much like a soldier, I mean, it's not even like I had the skills. I just come back into my body and was this fucked up version of me again, and it was pretty hard to cope with, to be honest, after being that version of myself. You know, all these higher self ideas, it's real because I've experienced it. And some people say, well, you had a concussion and you were on like a load of drugs. Yeah, but you don't understand what you're talking about. If you alter your chemical fucking makeup in your head, you start tuning to other stuff. If you've had a psychedelic experience, you know what I'm talking about. You leave your body and you essentially time travel through like dimensions or whatever. So whether I had a vision from the future or attained a different realm, I don't even, I have no fucking idea. But all I know is that it made fucking sense when it was there. It was realer than real. It was the most beautiful synchronized thing that I was a part of, and it was an honor to be a part of it. It was the most meaningful thing that's ever happened to me. And anybody who says like, yo, it's not real, you don't have a fucking clue what you're talking about, because you're not, like, you weren't even observing. Like, you can't say that. You know what I mean? There is such a thing as a spiritual experience, you know. People, you can leave your body. People that say, oh, like, this here, like, this is all there is, like, you're a fucking idiot, mate. I'm sick of people saying that. Like, you're at, what, third dimensional reality? I don't think you've been paying attention, have you? Like, have you asked any fucking questions in your entire life, you retard? That's me resentment coming out, you know, the devil. I'm getting fucking tired of these stupid atheistic nonsense idiots. And yeah, I've had these fucking opinions when I was a teenager, right? And we all learn at different rates. But honestly, right, when you pose somebody with an actual fucking like point that makes perfect sense, right, the cognitive dissonance of some people is actually astounding. Like, but, you know, like, or somebody's like seeing fucking, like, you know, Fibonacci sequence manifest on natural patterns, and like, you know, it's all synchronizing in a symmetrical way, and it makes them fucking understand like the relationship of physics in a transcendental way, and how it oh fucking hell, my heart's gonna stop here, blah blah blah, like, whatever, like. And some fucking idiot said to me, like, you know, I probably should have told him he was a fucking idiot, to be honest, because it's quite annoyed me. Like, It's you got a concussion. Like, well, we better start hitting our fucking heads with hammers or something, because clearly that's what we ought to be doing. Like, if we're like getting some sort of gift off it. Like, I can work out like the relationship to the outer world through me senses, like with no like, and I don't even have to measure it with a fucking ruler. I mean, how do you think that your body actually knows when you practice throwing a ball or something, and after a bit you're going to start hitting the target? All those mathematical geometry nonsense things that people pick up when they get bonked on head, that's exactly what your body is doing. The accuracy that it takes to actually fucking aim the ball, it's all based on your intuitive sense of physics. You might not be able to fucking work it out on paper like they teach you in school. And I'm not saying that isn't fucking necessary. But the point is what I think is the point here is the analysation of material. It is the way to navigate third dimensional reality, all atoms and stuff in a certain way. But if you actually want to get in tune with other dimensions and stuff, you have to look within and practice the art of intuitive sense. There's no you can't just measure. It's not measurable, people. And they say, oh, there's no proof of this. You can't prove that God exists. Blah-de, blah-de, fucking blah. Well, why do you think that is, pal? You know what I mean? Everybody find, if it could be proven, it would basically unravel a mystery that is everybody's right to fucking unravel. Now, you could say to me, well, why the fuck are you talking about it then? Why are you watching it? And secondly, even if I say these words to you, it's nothing in comparison to the actual energy that you would experience in a spiritual awakening of some sort. So it's a secret that can't be said, but one can direct somebody in, through a door, but it's you that walks through it. I've said that before, say it again. Anything that you do in your life, even if you've had a teacher, you fucking taught yourself, really. A teacher teaches you to teach yourself. That's what a good teacher does. And yeah, some teacher might fucking take a bit of credit for it, but all in all, it was you. That's how it works. And when it comes to what's going on in reality, people need to fucking wake up at this point, because if we don't, bad shit is gonna happen. Trust me. Bad shit. The people that are taking the piss with this situation with sheep and conformity and fucking consumeristic nonsense, do you honestly think that they're not going to come to a point where they're just going to bring the hammer down and basically start to enslave everybody at an accelerated rate? Because I reckon that will happen. We're on the cusp of fucking Nazi 2, but it's fucking hell, the severity of what this place has become is actually repulsive to me. And you might know what I'm talking about, when it comes to certain behaviours of certain fucking people. So if you're telling me, well, we believe you're the devil, but it's all your fault. You don't even know what you're talking about. Do you know what I mean? Basically, as far as I understand it, I'm an angry man that fell. The devil is an angry man that fell to a lower dimension, a fallen angel, right? But if you watch the classic Heart of Redemption on my other channel that I can't fucking access, why do we fall? It's to get back up, people. If you never fall, there's no story, there's no redemption, there's no development. If you're in heaven, you better fucking fall. Because if that doesn't happen, then you're going to be sat going fucking mad. And maybe my point was to begin with, was that very thing that I've just said, and it all went wrong. So what makes you think that the fallen angels that are fucking depicted as evil aren't are the ones with the fucking point and will rise up to declare war against God? Like, you know, and all that shit. But like God, like, what is God to you? It's to do with like what you fucking value and worship, what aspect of reality and character. It's not to do like, in my opinion, right, I think it's very unlikely that anybody's fucking created any of this shit. It's just here. What I've come to gather is that there's like archetypes that represent certain natures in reality, and it's very complex, to be honest. But I see the same sort of souls in different people's eyes. I know who I'm looking at a lot of the time, and they have similar kind of behaviours, but it's subtle. So we're in kind of like a network of nature, as far as I can make out. So the idea that anybody's like, look at what religion has people doing. It has people kissing toes and crediting like people, and fucking people's idea of worship is ridiculous. You know, if you know somebody, you're not like, if they're having you bow down to them, because God, your relationship with God is like that of a friend. If I met an actual, like God, let's suppose it was an individual, a transcendental character, I'd just want to have a fucking like beer with him or whatever. Like, I wouldn't like, you know, be like, oh, thank you for doing it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you'd be like, oh, cheers, dude. Like, you know, it hurt a bit, the whole thing, but it was worth it in the end and all that. But then really, like, you know, if he's got his head screwed on, he doesn't want to listen to like eternal credit. Like, you know, you must bow down, like, you must pray. It's ridiculous. It's about fucking respect. So, you know, you made it this far, then you ought to be asking yourself the question why you watched the 22-minute video of me chatting shit.